it almost got me into like an eating disorder where I would just binge, and then I would find it harder to come back and like try to get on track again. So I feel like that was an aha moment for me where I was like, okay, this is not working anymore. So what am I going to do? And I feel like this transition into 80/20 helped me having fun with food and having a good relationship with it, allowing yourself to have that slice of pizza or two or three, but then you're right back on track. You're eating clean or eating healthier for the rest of the day and for the rest of the week, and then a cookie comes your way and it's like, all right, I'll have this, but 80% of the time you're still on track.
Welcome to After Peter Pan, the podcast all about growing up and finding deeper purpose. I'm your host, Pat Tenneriello, and I'm really excited to dedicate an episode to physical fitness and nutrition. We talked a lot about mental health over several episodes, but I wanted to do a deep dive on the physical because, as we know, they are not separate, they are one. So I sit down today with my cousin, Pascal Vicario, a devoted father of three, successful professional who's managed to stay incredibly fit for over 15 years without letting it take over his life. We talk about what it takes to stay consistent, why understanding your why is essential, and how faith and family keep him grounded. Pascal shares practical tips for fitness and nutrition and the mindset shift that helps him to balance discipline with flexibility. Enjoy the episode. Right away, when I thought about doing an episode like this, you came to mind. Like you are the guy that I wanted to talk to. When I think about the type of body that you have, and like I think of when I see someone like at the beach, or I see someone out and about who is built the way that you are, I assume that it's their entire life. Like it consumes them, and that's all they do. It's their entire life. But that's not true. Like you prove to me that that's not true, because you have a family, you have three kids, you have a career, like, you have a whole lot of other things than just working out and eating well. So what really sticks out to me for you is like, one is consistency. You've been doing this for a very long time. I used to go to the gym. I did it for like maybe 5 years and then I quit. And throughout my life, it's kind of been on and off, whereas you've just been consistent. And so I want to get into that. I want to get into the discipline that it takes to get consistent. What keeps you doing this for, I don't know, it must be close to 20 years or 15 years that you've been doing
15
the
now,
lifestyle
yeah.
that you've been doing. And I thought I'd start just by, just give me a moment here, just to back up this consistency point that I am making. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay,
That's
so
a great pick.
this is you. I was digging into your Instagram a little bit, and this is 2013. So this is 12 years ago. Life has changed a little bit since then, but I thought we'd start there. Then here's 2017. So 4 or 5 years later, body still very fit. And then here's the latest pic I could find, March 2023, with your son, still very, very fit. And now you have 3 kids and you're still very, very fit. So life has changed, but you've stayed consistent. I just think that that's remarkable.
I mean, I'm honored to hear that because, the fact that I'm able to inspire you just through like my social media posts and like how you've seen me grown since then, it's an honor, honestly. Like that, when I first started out, like just to inspire somebody, even without knowing, like that just means a lot to me. So I'm glad I could do that over the years, hopefully for others as well. So 15 years ago is when when it all started, to be exact. And I originally started training because I had taken a break from school. I wanted to go back into police technology, and I had to pass a physical exam, and I was, a scrawny little guy, probably wouldn't pass that exam. So that's where it really started. And shout out to Uncle Frank, was the first one to bring me to the gym. He was always about fitness and training as well in his younger years, and still is, very much so. But shout out to him for bringing me. And I don't know, I didn't think I was going to make a passion out of it, to be quite honest. I thought I was just going there to solely pass that exam, that physical exam that I was dreading, chin ups, dips, just like the classic exercises that they want you to do. And I trained for that and I did pass and I did get in, but that was not my intention. My intention was not to have a passion out of it. It was really just to pass the exam. So it's, it immediately sparked something in me, like just training and feeling good mentally, physically. Like that was something that really drove me, I guess, at that time to continue. You start to see the results. Like I that was, one thing of it, but also just being able to pass that exam. I saw my strength building, but like serious dieting only came in maybe like 1 to 2 or even 3 years later, when I first started training, I was just eating anything I wanted, really. If you want to call it almost like a permanent bulk, just eating whatever I wanted past whatever, like living at home at the time with my parents. I wasn't eating chicken breasts, you know what I mean? I was eating Sunday sauce all week long, paninis, like, just eating whatever I could, bringing it to school. But
Yeah.
I realized like that wasn't it. Like that's not where it stops. Like there's more to this. Like how could I get better? Like how could I transform my body to something more? And I think being in police tech too, with other guys also training in the gym, like you see their bodies and you're like, oh, okay, like there's more to this game. It's not just training and eating. Like there's a little bit of science to it too. So that's what really drove me to take to the next step.
How old were you when you started?
15 years ago. So I was like 19, 20, around there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it started with the physical fitness and your motivation was career. When did it become more?
I don't think it was only career, right? Like, because as you know, I'm not a police officer today, but it did definitely spark something in me to continue that. I did finish school for it, just never continued in that field, but it became part of me. Like just being at school, training, seeing others train. There was a lot of physical work at school. Like we would be running 8 kilometers every other day. Like that became just part of my routine, even at school and at home. So it was like yeah, I think it just became second nature at that point. And then I saw the results. I saw how my body was looking, how I was feeling mentally, physically. Like I think that's where it became kind of more than just either career or schooling per se, right?
And at that age, those are years where discipline is not, I mean, didn't come natural to me. Those were party years. Those were years where you're socializing. If you're single guy, you're dating. How would you describe discipline in your life then? And how has discipline sort of evolved as your life has evolved with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say definitely like back in the day, discipline was probably, a lot less, right? Like you said, you're going out with your friends, waking up late, going to work, probably going to work late. Like, you're just living that life of going out, going to school, working part-time. Like life was a lot different in terms of discipline, but I think over time, like it at the beginning it was kind of felt like I had to do it. Like this was, it was being built. Like it was not natural to me, but over time it just became innate. Like it's just part of me, like almost like a second nature. And like I feel like the many years of training, eating healthy, meal prepping, waking up early, like that all played a role in like my discipline in fitness, but also like with work, with my family life, with friends. It just gave me that discipline overall in my life. And I think till this day, it just feels like something natural for me. It doesn't feel forced. If I miss a workout or I miss, something that I committed to, in life, whether it's work or, personal, I feel like it gets me, right? Like I need discipline in my life almost to stay on track. But I feel like the many years of doing it, like it just became kind of like that second nature for me. So I always want to be the best version of myself, be fully committed to what I'm working on. I think physical training has created that momentum for me, and it's almost like part of my DNA at this point. So yeah, I would just say like it's built over time, and then eventually becomes kind of just part of who you are.
Were there moments when you struggled to keep going, where there was a period of lack of discipline, and like what kept you anchored?
Yeah, many times I struggled. I guess once you enter the fitness world, right, you're training, you start off like it doesn't come right away. It takes a few years to see any kind of result. You might see small ones, and I think that's what counts, right? Your small milestones that you hit, those keep you going for sure. But sometimes those things set you back. It doesn't necessarily have to be fitness related too. Like you might be, something goes wrong at work or school, relationships, family, like those things set you back. You don't feel like going to the gym or being healthy and continuing to do what you do, right? I feel like a lot of those moments, they happen for sure, especially injuries. Like injuries has always been a big one for me. Like when you get injured, it sets you back sometimes months at a time, right? And
Mm.
I think what's important from there is you got to just control what you can control and come back stronger than before. But above all, like, I think having strong faith too. I think for first and foremost, like God is always first for me. Scripture actually says like your body is a temple of God. So I think treating your body properly, maintaining good health honors that. So mind, body, soul for me is key. So I think, that That's a big one that drives me when I had my moments of struggle, just like believing in yourself, but also knowing that, having strong faith like will get you there as well. So that was always a big one for me. But I think another one too is just like always knowing what your why is. I think that anchored me. So like, why was I doing this? Was I doing it for myself? Sure, it's nice to like feel good, look good, but why was I doing it? So I think it was the commitment to myself, like the gym is always a place where I could deal with my anxiety, my fears, my dreams, my responsibilities, as a provider, as a father, a leader, a son. I think whatever I was dealing with out here, I would deal with in there, and for me, like just taking that time to kind of release that tension that I have, whether it's a mental game, right? And I feel like doing that in there would help me with that. And the interesting thing about the gym or fitness in general, health, like, is that it's a promise that you make to yourself, right? And that you can break it at any time and nobody would know, right? But you don't, you keep going. It's for yourself. So I think showing up and meeting yourself on your own terms that you've committed to was always a way to keep me kind of anchored and keep going. So
Wow, what a great answer. There's a lot you said there that I'd like to unpack a little bit more. Has faith and religion always played an important role in your life, and it has helped you in your physical wellness? Or would you say that's something more recent?
I'd say that's something a little bit more recent. I've known my wife for pretty much almost all the time that I've been at the gym or training, right? So, she played a big role in that. Before that, I was not so much into my faith, but my wife like grew up in the church, and it's a big part of who she is, and who I've become with, being married to her and being in a relationship with her for so long and knowing her for so many years. But within my later years, say the last like at least 5 years, I'd say that plays a big part in that, like being able to juggle 3 kids, a career, and still find time to go to the gym or just be healthy, stay active, eat healthy, like all those things, it takes work. She supports me in that. I gotta say that, like, above all, like she's there always supporting in the background, believes in what I do. And we do it as a family, really. Like we try to all be healthy and stay active and whatnot. But, knowing that I try to find that time for myself, like she's always been a support. But going back to like faith, I feel like in my later years now, more recent years rather, like it's been playing a big part. Like, sometimes you feel like giving up, but you just got to stay strong and have your faith. And I think like that helps me go and continue each morning, busy days, responsibilities, like those things are hard. So that's definitely been plays a huge role.
It's a very mature motivation, because I would say that, and I'm speaking for myself, if I'm honest, and I think a lot of people, they go to the gym to be attractive to the opposite sex. They go to the gym to feel good in their skin. So some of it, a lot of times, is ego driven, and you can see that in some of the people that are, very physically fit or ripped. I think you associate big ego with, or arrogance potentially, with some of those people. But the way
Right.
that you're describing it, and I know you, so I wouldn't say that that's you. Yeah, how do you react to that?
I would say you're not wrong. Like it's often, it happens to many, right? Like they see somebody that trains, that's fit. It's like they're obsessed with it. That's all they do. It's for, it's to show off or it's to, be attractive, like you said, right? Don't get me wrong. Many years ago, I probably had some of that, some of my mindset, right? Like just, you start to feel it, you look good. Like, you definitely, there's a side of that, eventually once upon a time, I felt that. But I think more importantly, like I said, my why was I was doing it for myself. Like I just felt good doing it, almost like a therapy, right? For me, it's always been just about like how I want to feel and how I want to just, you know, take myself to my limits. Like, what could I do next? Like with my body, like it's, even it could be a season. Like, what am I going through right now? Like the gym is like my anchor. So I feel like that's always kind of been in my mentality towards it. But yeah, you're not wrong there. It's definitely something that's like, everybody sees it and thinks it.
And by the way, I just want to be clear. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like if your motivation evolves as you mature, I think that that's a good thing. Like I think a lot of men or people in general, like we are motivated to be attractive to the opposite sex in a lot of different things in our lives, and it's not a bad motivator. Right. If it makes us a better person, that's great. But if that's all that's going to be the motivation as you get older, like eventually that needs to evolve, right? Like in your case, it
Yeah.
sounds like there was an evolution, there was a maturity, and that maybe is what has kept you with it, right? Because like I'm just it reminds me, it's jogging my memory of when I really started taking the gym seriously. I was over 30. Like for me, I was a bit later in life, and I was hanging around with younger people. I was dating younger people, and I started to feel a bit older, and I started to feel a bit weaker. And I think it made me want to go to the gym and like feel young again and feel strong again. And it did those things. And I felt good, and I felt younger, and I felt more virile and more, stronger. When I met my wife, I slowly kind of tapered the gym, but it evolved in a way that, like, now I wouldn't say I'm sedentary. Like it's not that I run and I choose to meditate, because for me, like, it sounds like your outlet is the gym. For me, my outlet is sitting on the mat and meditating or doing some yoga and stretching. And then going for a run is what gets my heart rate up. So I'm not doing strength training. I know that there are advantages to doing that. But in my case, there's been an evolution as well. So I think, men were motivated to be attractive to the opposite sex. And I just want to be clear. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that what is important is that we mature, and that we grow, and that why that you talked about should mature with.
I think long term, if it's for that specific reason of just being physically attractive to the opposite sex, I personally don't think it's sustainable. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there needs to be a bigger why behind it. Like, why you're doing it has to be for yourself too, right? So, I think like, that evolution needs to occur eventually, and I think it just comes with maturity, and whether it's like you said, like you're running, if that's your outlet, like there's so many different things that you can do to just stay active and healthy. Like I think just doing it for the right reasons and evolving with time, like that's important. So you're spot
Let's
on with that.
let's get into some of these, your routine and how that's evolved. So maybe like today, walk us through, what's a typical day for you? Where does fitness fit in? Where does meal prep and eating well fit into a typical day for you, Pascal?
Yeah, well, I'd say like, my days start early, that's for sure. Like I've always been an early bird and early riser when I lived at home, when I got married, like it's just been part of me. I just like it better that way, and I can also organize my day a little bit better. Just time management. But a typical day, like I'll wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, little bit of water, get in a bit of, maybe a banana or something. Like I like to train at fasted, for the most part, not like nothing too crazy in my stomach. Hit the gym for about an
Why
hour.
is that? Is there a strategic reason for that, or is that just a personal preference?
Personal preference, like I used to eat before the gym and I would just feel bloated. I just like I've noticed that my body reacts better to training like almost fasted in the morning. I've gone completely like no water, just go no food, but I don't, for me it doesn't work. So just a little bit of fuel in the body to get me going, sometimes a coffee, and then I'll come back and I'll eat after. It's just what's works for me. And this honestly has been like a recent switch over the last year or two. But yeah, so that's kind of where that comes from. But I typically like to just be selfish in the morning. Like I take that 1 to 2 hours in my morning so that, I could be selfless for the rest of the day, being a father, husband, a leader, a son, a friend, whatever the case is. Like I just want to be ready, to tackle on the day. And when I get, my personal things done in the morning, like whether it's training, whether it's just being quiet for like 20 minutes as soon as I wake up, like that for me is it anchors me for the rest of the day. But when I get back, like I come home, we cook breakfast together, and then I start work, so that's kind of like where my fitness and kind of well, where my fitness comes in. But healthy eating honestly has been just like overall a family thing that we do. It's not just me, obviously, like I'm not making my kids eat dry chicken breasts all day long or broccoli all day long and like these boring foods, but we try to integrate healthy meals into
Okay.
our, into our daily, routine. But for myself, like I'll prepare meals early in the week so that if I'm working, I'll make sure that things are ready, and I'm not wasting time trying to cook. I feel like that's always worked for me, like just being prepared and having like food ready in the fridge. So nothing crazy. Like I might prepare a bunch of protein in the beginning of the week, like whether it's some beef patties, chicken breast, fish, like I'll just prepare some stuff and then use that for the week.
Okay, so you're preparing, you're waking up very early. I like what you said about being selfish in the morning so you can dedicate yourself to others throughout the day. You have 3 kids. What if someone's sick? What if someone woke up 4 times that night? Like when you're in survival mode, how do you adapt? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a perfectly timed question because I'm going through it right now with my newest. He's 7 months. I've been off work. I think I might have told you this earlier this summer, but I've been off for like the last 6 weeks. I still have 2 weeks to go. I take an extended parental leave, but while on this, I've experienced all kinds of schedules. My son has in the last 2 weeks, I would say, has had like kind of like a lot of rough nights, I would say. So for me to wake up a couple times a night and get broken sleep, like I won't be able to do that 5:30 in the morning training that I typically do. So we'll flex. My wife is super supportive with that stuff as well. I'll wake up, we'll eat breakfast together. Like we'll get through the morning. It'll be a bit more of a slower morning, but I'll find time, like maybe right before lunch or when the kids nap. Like we'll work around it to find time to stay active. And if I can't get to the gym, hey, like let's go to the park with the kids, go for a bike ride. Like let's do things to stay active.
Mhm.
For me, I just function better when I can be physically active some kind of way in the day. It calms me down. I have more patience with my kids and my wife as well. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And I feel like this time off has helped me prepare for when I go back to work. It kind of taught me a few things, like how could I balance this a little bit better if, to your point, you have a rough night or somebody's sick or there's an emergency, right? Like it just helps you work around that. 3 kids is way different than two in terms of how to manage all of these things that could happen.
I have 1, and, I feel like if we didn't get a good night's sleep, like, it throws the ru like, I for me, it throws the routine out the window, and I just say, "Okay, this is like a cheat day," you know? Just gonna call this
Yeah.
a cheat day. What's so you this 5 AM, 5:30, is this like this not 7 days a week, is it?
No, there was a time where it kind of was a little bit obsessed, but no, now it's definitely not. I try to go to the gym at least minimum 4 times a week. Like that's my thing. So with that being said, like I could flex that. Like let's say to like if you have a day where it becomes like your cheat day where you're like, okay, I'm not hitting the gym today, I'm not exercising, I'm not doing things for me. I'll make it happen another day in the week. I like to stick to midweek, like not midweek, but like weekdays so that the weekend I could dedicate that to my family. And I'm not, spending an hour at the gym. I like to really spend my weekend with my family and like just use it for that. And I think it's good to be present and it's important.
So you talked about your meals. You make it a family thing. The family eats healthy. There's a lot of advantages to that. I was just listening to a podcast today about misbehaving children, and one of the big advices was like cut the sugar, the processed foods out, so they don't have those insulin spikes. And I've your kids are very well behaved, so I've been around them, and I think diet plays a role in that. Can you give us like what does healthy meal mean to you? It's not always obvious. Someone who hasn't studied or read a book about eating healthy, what does that look like to have healthy meals as a family?
Yeah. I mean, really it's the meals are not as attractive as you would when you put a lot of thought into a meal, like you're adding a ton of ingredients. You can make like a solid meal with like super healthy ingredients, right? And still make it taste very good. But like our meals are very on the fly, have a good source of protein, have a good, carb, and then some veggies. Like we typically try to cook meals like with that mindset, right? Like as we plan our groceries for the week, like we'll go after things like that while we're shopping. But I think like yes, cutting or limiting at least or balancing the amount of sugar intake is like super critical with kids. They get like really crazy if they have sugar, and we see it right away. For us, the most important meal of the day, and it sounds like a cheesy old expression, right, is breakfast. They always say that, but it really is though. Like your body is fasting overnight, right? So the first food that enters your body, it replenishes your energy, it improves your focus, it boosts your mood, it kickstarts your metabolism for the day. So I feel like a balanced breakfast increases, your nutrient intake for the day, and also reduces like your cravings for, let's say, more sugary foods throughout the day. So, I feel that effect with my kids. Like if they wake up, and trust me, they do have this stuff like Eggos in the morning with a bit of syrup, like you'll see the difference if they eat that versus, let's say, some eggs with toast, and some fruits. You'll see the difference in their behavior. So I feel like kickstarting the day with like a healthy meal is super important with our family, and it works to keep our kids kind of grounded for the whole day, where they're not going crazy and having like these sugar rush moments. So I feel like though that really helps us, stay balanced. And doing that, my kids actually will tell me, like, if we're out at an event or there's like a sweet table or something, they'll approach the table. Well, my son will tell me like, "Dad, I'm just gonna have one cookie, okay, and then I'll have like some fruits after." Like they're able to distinguish based on our habits, like what let's say like a less healthy choice is versus a healthy choice. And I feel like establishing that in your kids early on is good. It's important, and we're not like telling them you can have it. I know parents like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Every parenting method is different, but I would say like, and there's none that's right and there's none that's wrong, but I would say like just helping them identify like, healthier foods versus maybe not as healthy foods is a good thing to do at a young age. And I see it in my kids, like just based on how we eat and how we approach those types of foods, like it's very helpful, and it helps them behave. To your point, they're not always behaved, so they they tend to behave better when they're with like, family and friends around. So that's probably what you're seeing, but definitely they're great kids, and I think food plays a big role in that. So.
I've read things like intermittent fasting, micro meals, eating more meals, smaller meals throughout the day. Are these things that you've experimented with? Are these things that you do today? Would you recommend them?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried different things over the years. I'd say like what I've done for the last couple of years is just really at the end of the day eating whole foods and just trying to meet my caloric goal for the day. Like I'm not tracking every single thing I'm eating. Like I have a lot of flexibility, but I try to make the healthiest choice in those moments. If I have like a party or something or a dinner event or whatever the case is, I try to know like ahead of time, like, okay, I need to plan on my day, like what I'm eating, make sure I count for maybe the more calories I'm going to take in later that day. But I think for me, what's always worked is that, like, just know how many calories you should be eating for the day, looking a bit at your macronutrients, like your protein, your carb. I think that's always kind of keep me balanced, and like how I balance my food for the day and what I'm eating. But I've never really done like fasting other than like waking up and not eating and going to the gym, or, just being active. I haven't done it for like hours at a time or anything like that. Again, haven't tried it. Might work for others, might not work for me. I've never actually tried that, but I think there's multiple ways to go about it.
I went far back into your Instagram. I saw some really huge cheat meal pictures of like stacks of pancakes and ridiculous hamburgers and all kinds of meals that were clearly cheat meals. So, what do you make of cheat days and cheat meals? Is that something you still do?
I don't do cheat days. That's what it looked like back. If you go back to my Instagram posts, like cheat day turns into like a cheat weekend, but back then I would say like I almost had like an eating disorder, from a certain standpoint, where I would be so strict with myself and like avoid those foods that when it would come to a cheat meal, I'd go overboard. Probably unhealthy almost amount of food that I would take in. And then cheat meals turn into cheat weekends. You're hard on yourself. You're like, damn, I already screwed up Friday night. Might as well continue eating Saturday and Sunday. And then you restart Monday, right? But I've kind of changed that mindset. Now what I tend to follow is just have like a good relationship with food. I think it's important to have balance. It's not like a method that I created, and by any means it's out there, but I use like kind of the 80-20 method. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Maybe you have,
Tell us
but
about it.
basically, yeah, so it's like 80% of the time you're following, you're consistent, right? You're on track, like you're eating healthy, you're staying active, right? But 20% of the time is allocated for like moments where you crave that pizza, or you want to have that cookie, or you want to have that burger, and it doesn't have to wait till like that Saturday cheat meal or whenever it is, right?
You strike me as someone who can be hard on yourself. I can relate to that. I feel I can be hard on myself, but it seems like you made a switch at some point in your fitness from being too hard on yourself and strict, and then binging and then feeling like shit. and then
Right.
having a hard time getting back into a routine. And now this 80-20 rule, this balance, like, hey, I'm a human. I'm going to have a day where I'm craving whatever. How did you make that healthy transition?
I think having kids started a lot of that for me. Like, you can't be eating, the way, I mean, you can be, but it's just not fair to everybody else. Like, oh, I'm not going to eat with you guys because I got to have my meal or my, like I'm being super strict. Like I'm following my diet plan or whatever. Like, I don't like to do that anymore. And I kind of like, it almost got me into like an eating disorder where I would just binge and then I would find it harder to come back and like try to get on track again. So I feel like that was kind of a s- an aha moment for me where I was like, okay, this is not working anymore. So what am I going to do? And I feel like this transition into 80-20 helped me, like just having fun with food and having a good relationship with it. Like, it also helps you think like, look, because like the way I used to eat is like, okay, I'm gonna have like three pizzas. This is a bit exaggerated, but I'm gonna have three pizzas because I'd never want to touch it again. But that's not a good way to think. Like you're gonna have a pizza again sometime down the line, right? So it's just like having that flexibility, allowing yourself to have that slice of pizza or two or three, but then you're right back on track. Like you're eating clean or eating healthier for the rest of the day and for the rest of the week, and then a cookie comes your way and it's like, all right, I'll have this, but 80% of the time you're still on track. So I feel like it's just easier to balance and manage with a family. So I think that's probably where, 5 years or so ago, it really like started working for me and where I made that switch.
Yeah. Well, that's a really healthy switch. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, being hard on themselves, being a bully to themselves, and, setting an ideal and then falling short and then feeling guilty or shameful. So having that healthy balance is super important and super difficult, I think. So it's
Yeah.
great that you found it. On the gym itself, on the fitness, you don't have a whole lot of time to lose, right? I mean, you got a lot going on. I'm assuming you're super efficient at the gym, right? Like you said an hour or two, but my guess is that it's getting in the car, driving there, showering after, so it's when you're the actual time you're dedicating to the fitness portion of that is probably not that much time, and you need to be very efficient. Any pointers there on, making it about quality if you don't have the quantity? Like how do you increase the quality of your fitness?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, like you learn to make your workouts a little bit quicker when you have like such tight schedules, right? Like work, family balance. So I would say like almost coming up with like a routine that you're gonna follow, right? Like which body parts you want to hit. Like I think that's one thing, right? Like you have your set days where you're gonna hit like chest and you're gonna hit your biceps, you're gonna do legs. Like you want to have those set days. I think it's important to keep that in the back of your mind as like a foundation of your workout. But I think finding the exercises that work the best for your body too. Which exercises hit that muscle the most, right? So I would go based on that. Like let's say there's 3 or 4 exercises that you really like to hit when it's like your chest day. I would stick to those because those are the ones that are going to give you the biggest return on your workout, especially if you're trying to speed things up. That's kind of always how I've worked, right? Like I know which exercises I love to do. I do switch them up from time to time. You do want to like kind of shock your muscles a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I'm sticking to like very similar styles of workout and training. And typically my workouts will run like 45 to an hour. I don't do a whole lot of cardio in the gym. I should be doing more. So that's not like part of my routine at the gym, but I'll tend to do it outside. So like that'll be my bike ride with my kids. That'll be the walk I take with my wife and the kids. Like I'll use it for that. So I kind of like balance that portion because if I was doing, some cardio and, strength training at the gym, I'd be there for at least 2 hours. So I
Yep.
feel like that helps being efficient, like finding ways to stay active outside of the gym could also, you're still burning your calories, you're still working out, you're still, you know what I mean? You're still staying active. So I think like that's where I've been able to be efficient, overall by doing all of these things kind of together.
And it sounds like you have a good feeling of your body, like your mind body connection is strong. Because like it's if you were to ask me like which exercise at the gym does my body resonate with or have the biggest impact, it wouldn't necessarily be obvious to me. You've been doing it a long time. someone who may not have that connection, like what should they be looking for or thinking about to try and figure that out? I'm talking more
Yeah.
for someone who I guess is a beginner versus someone who's been doing it already for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Injuries play a part in that. Like I know which exercises not to touch as much anymore based on that. So like you said, it's kind of natural, more natural for me. But for somebody that's just trying to figure that out, I would say like, the ones that will make you feel like okay, like you got a good pump from that exercise, or you feel like you're getting results quicker. Which exercises you feel comfortable with too, I think is important. Like when you're doing an exercise, that mind body connection is important. Like you'll feel an exercise, you're like, what am I doing? Like this is, it's not, it doesn't have that feeling where you feel that connection. But some exercises you're like, oh, like holy, like this is a solid exercise, right? Let's say you're hitting, I don't know, like a dumbbell press, right? Like you will feel it, like you'll know, like this is an exercise that feels good for me, versus an exercise where you're like just doing it and you're like, nah, like this is just doesn't feel right. It's causing me a bit of pain. Or I think listening to your body is like another critical thing. Like, don't do something that doesn't feel good for yourself. Like, if you feel like it's not, it's either causing strain or things like that, like stay away from those. But overall, I would say like the ones where you have the most muscle mind connection, those are the ones that I would stick to. And that you feel like you've really worked out that muscle, those are the ones that I would hit on more often.
This mind body connection, I've heard this, and I used to do this too. When you're actually working on, let's say you're doing arms, is your mind actually, when you're doing the actual exercise, is your mind on your arms before you actually start that set or that rep? Like, is that what you mean when you say mind to body?
Yeah, I would say it's more like in the moment of the exercise. So it's like you feel that almost like that contraction in the muscle as you're working out. Like you feel like, okay, this is really working for me, as opposed to like you're just aimlessly like, lifting a dumbbell and it's like you don't feel that contraction of the muscle. So I would say like taking your time, breathing in and out while you're working, and like there's no sense in rushing an exercise. So I feel like that mind body connection is where you really take the time to feel the exercise will give you that muscle contraction, right? Like you'll feel that connection from mind to body, if that makes sense. It's more of a feeling, honestly, when you're when you're in it. So
And also, it's also because people tend to do other things while they're working out, like listen to a podcast, hopefully listening to this one, uh,
yeah,
or watching something YouTube or Insta,
yeah,
doom scrolling or whatever, like or socializing, because some people go to the gym. They're socializing, so their focus is like they're there, but they're trying to pass the time quicker by doing a second thing. So it may not be so easy to do the mind body. So you're saying, like, are you also saying, hey, you got to like focus on what you're doing, you'll get more out of it that way?
yeah, exactly. Because if you're like on your phone, or doing something other than working out, like I think that plays a huge role. Like, you're let's say between sets, right? You shouldn't be taking longer than like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute rest time, right? But like if you're on your phone doom scrolling, you could be sitting there for like without even realizing 4 to 5 minutes. And like now your muscle has kind of just like relaxed completely from the previous set you've just done. And now you're just gonna go in, cold turkey into the next set. And it's just you don't have that connection. So I think, yeah, like when I'm in the gym and I'm guilty of like using my phone, emails, things like that, right? But like I try to put it away, just have my music. I need music when I train. Some people don't like it, but I feel like that helps me just stay focused, and I try not to be on my phone and not socializing, like just focus on me for that 45 minutes that I have.
Yep. For people who are a bit more advanced, who have been already going, for those people who are kind of like trying to get to the next level, I remember when I was working out, I plateaued after a certain amount of time. Like, how do you break through those plateaus? Any suggestions
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I would say like two things. So one is like avoid ego lifting. Like sometimes, you're in the gym, there's an exercise you want to hit, and like you're gonna like overload the bar or whatever. Like you're gonna go pick some heavy weight because you want to try to get to the next level, right? Like you said, you plateau. It kind of discourages you, and you're like trying to always hit the next weight or the next, the next best thing. But I feel like staying focused on like the weight that's comfortable where you get some clean repetition, right? Like you're not forcing, you're not arching your back on an exercise, you're not cheating, you're not swinging. Like I feel like those things all play a part in building your strength. So, ego lifting for me is when you're just trying to lift like way above what you should be, at a comfortable weight level. I feel like those things for me has always helped me like get to the next level, like just I'm not there to like lift heavy, extremely heavy weight either, right? Like I feel like I do what's comfortable for me, what gives me a good workout. So avoiding the ego lift, like just overall. And then the second part for me is like I really like supersets and it's always worked for me too. It helps me be efficient. I think that's why I do a lot of that. So like I'll run from, doing, let's say I'm hitting back, like I'll throw in triceps in between. So I'll do like a back tricep day. I'll hit, lat pull downs and then I'll go do some, tricep pull downs and I'll alternate with that. So you're resting your back while you're working your triceps. It doesn't work for everybody, but I feel like for me, like doing that is I helps me be efficient. I also feel like I've had a hell of a good workout when I'm done because you're not stopping. So again, like it really depends what your preference is, but I think like it definitely is something good. I think it works if you do it right.
And just for clarity, a superset is when, let's say you're doing 3 sets of back. In your 30 seconds or minute of downtime, you'll run over to, let's say it's a back and tricep day. You'll mix a tricep exercise in between the downtime of one of your reps of back. Is that right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So there's like I get what you're saying as well. It's also considered a superset. Like you can do like, let's say, you start at like 120 pounds, then you'll do another set and you'll like almost I think that's more referred to like a drop set. Is that what you're referring to? Like
No,
where
I
you'll go
I
low.
don't know.
Okay.
I wanted to know like
Okay.
what a superset actually is, just to make sure and from my understanding.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So like I think what you're referring to is more of like a drop set. So like let's say you're doing lat pull downs. I'll use that as an example again. You'll start at, I don't know, 120 pounds. You'll finish your set right away. You'll drop, I don't know, let's say 40 pounds. You'll do another set. And then immediately right after, you'll drop another like 40 pounds and you'll do another set. So you're doing like 3 sets in a row, but it's a drop set. By the end of that, yeah, you feel really like, okay, like this was a solid exercise. You feel really pumped. You feel burned out a little bit, but it's a good way to train. What I'm referring to when I say supersets is like in between your downtime, you're not just resting, you're actually going to complete another exercise.
On
There'll be
another
a
muscle
rest.
group or on the same
Yeah,
muscle group.
you could do same muscle group if you wish. Yeah, like it really depends what you're trying to achieve, but I'll tend to mix two different body parts, muscle groups, let's say,
Okay.
when I'm doing that. Yeah.
And then
And again,
some
it doesn't work for everybody, but it is a good method.
okay. And some people who may only get to the gym 2 days a week or 3 days a week, would there be an argument for them to do full body every time they go instead of isolating muscle?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing full body if you're only hitting like 2, 3 times a week. If that's all you can do, then I think there's a benefit in doing that, right? Like you might be spending a little bit more time in the gym doing that, right? Like if you're trying to hit everything. But I think what's important there is like if you do that, like rest is just as important as training. Like if you're doing that 3 days back to back, you'll be burnt out, and I think you're probably overworking your body at that point. But if you have a little bit of rest in between, full body workouts is beneficial. And I know a lot of people that actually do that because it comes down to time. As you get older, that's what you run out of. So, that's something that I see a lot of people doing.
Have you tried these, what is it called? That like cult. I did it for a bit. It's like not like Orange Theory and like the original one, these ones where you go and it's like a class and everyone does everything together.
You're referring to CrossFit?
Yeah, CrossFit and
Yeah.
did you ever try that and like how did that go for you?
Yeah, I actually haven't taken a class of CrossFit. Like I've never have. Not that it's because I dislike it in any way or have like it's just a preference. Like I like strength training and, doing individual exercises. I have because like CrossFit is very like go go go, right? You're not stopping. It's like you're doing like I don't know 50 reps of this and like 30 of this, and you're dropping down doing push-ups, and you're doing like you're like you're all over the place. And I think there's some great benefits to that too. There's a lot of cardio there. Like your heart is racing the entire time, I bet. But I haven't actually tried it, so I can't say that I don't really have an opinion, but I would say like I could see why people do it for sure, and depending what you're trying to achieve, like that's like that's more of an intense training rather than like strength training, right? Like your heart's racing a lot more, you're doing a lot more cardio there while also lifting weights. So, yeah.
Yeah, before we shift gears into more of this kind of disciplined mindset and lifestyle, any other kind of practical advice that we may not have hit on the fitness, actually getting to the gym or getting your workout in, that you feel like is worth saying?
Yeah, I think you don't need a gym at the end of the day. Like if you want to, work out, do a bit of strength training, like you can do a lot of exercises using body weight at home, or you can buy yourself a couple of dumbbells or something at home. But I'm just what I want to say as advice, like for somebody that let's say can't get to the gym or just wants to start, like I think there's never anything wrong with like trying to do it at home or finding other alternatives than the gym. Like I think staying active is what counts the most. I always say like some kind of workout is better than no workout. Like I think that's important. And for somebody that's just starting out or can't find the time, just make some 20 minutes in the morning. Like get down, do some push-ups, sit-ups, like just find some exercises that using body weight squats. Like there's so many things you can do, and there's tons of videos, tons of resources, and there's a lot of online coaching. Like they sell, not trying to sell anybody anything here, it's just I know there's a lot of people that do that out there, online coaches, and they sell like different kinds of plans that you can follow just using things from your home. That would be my advice. Like just don't spend all of your time on the gym. Like you could actually find other ways to do it if you don't have the time or the means to do it.
Sure. That's all good stuff. It made me think, whenever I got to the gym, I always was very grateful and enjoyed it and then felt really good afterwards. The challenge that I think a lot of people have, including myself, is getting my butt off the couch. It's just getting up and walking out the door to do it.
All right.
So, do you have like a trick when you're like, it's 5 a.m., your head's still on the pillow, the alarm's gone off, and it's like, I could just hit that snooze button, but like, I'm like, what? Do you have a trick to get your butt out of bed or off the couch?
Like 5:30 in the morning for me is like it's never been easy. Like I get up and it's like sometimes I sit there and I snooze and I'm like, man, I gotta get up. And sometimes there's mornings where I'm like, hell with it. I won't do it. But like I said, I always commit to doing my days later in the week if I didn't go that day. I think there's nothing wrong with taking a break. I think everybody needs one. I think it's actually healthy that you reset and say, hey, like I just need to sleep in this morning. I think it's important to listen to your body. But for myself, like I just tell myself that I've made that commitment and I got to do it. Like I don't think there's any way around it. There's nobody that's going to drag your butt out of bed. Like nobody's going to do that for you. But I think if you tell yourself, like, if I miss today, I'm going to make up for it later this week. I think that's my mindset, that I know I'm going to get it done one way or another throughout the week. Kind of gives me a bit of a grace period. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't do it today, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. But as long as I get to it, I think that doesn't come naturally. Like, I think with time, when you're consistent for so long, like, it'll become part of you, and you learn to flex around that and it becomes more natural. But for somebody that's just starting out, I think you have to just force yourself to do it at first, and you build that consistency and discipline, because it starts to become part of you, and when you miss it you're like, damn, like I didn't do it today, I didn't stay committed.
What have you had to give up to live this lifestyle that you live? You've been doing it 15 years. A lot of positives have come out of it. I'm sure you've had to make sacrifices and give things up. Some things that are probably good for you, maybe not all of them. What would you say you've sacrificed?
Yeah, well, one of them being sleep. Like that's one that I've given up. Just with kids in general, I think we all give that up. But I think like just being able to go that early and finding that time, like we all have 24 hours in a day, right? I think it's just a matter of finding what time works best for you. We can all carve out 20 to 30 minutes for a workout if we really wanted to. I'm sure there's that time, right? So I think what I have sacrificed, I'd say, is like maybe some free time, right? Maybe I could be doing other things with that time if I really wanted to, right? I could be sleeping for one, right? But I could be also, maybe if I go at night instead, if I go, stay active, or if I go to the gym, if I go for a run or whatever the case is, like I could be doing something else. And I think like the sacrifice there is like just the free time that you have to do other things. And I don't look at it as a negative thing either, because I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. But at first it might not feel that way. So I feel like I had to give that up. Another thing would be, I guess, self-control with like food and stuff like that. Like I feel like not having to care about, just eating whatever I wanted like I used to. I feel like I'm more cautious of that. Like I know what my body doesn't take well. Like if I eat a lot of sugar or carbs, the next day I'm gonna be sore in my knees. I'm gonna be sore in all sorts of places. I get inflammation. My body feels it right away. I think that's more of like a age thing. Like I didn't have this before, but as I get older, I know my body a little bit more, and I know what it doesn't like. So I feel like that's something that, people might be out having, some unhealthy snacks, let's say like some ice cream and some cookies and things like that. Like I want to binge and have it, but sometimes I just tell myself, listen, like I don't need to have that today. I had like maybe one earlier in the week and that's fine with me. So I think giving up some of that like freedom around food, I think like that was one thing for me that, kind of early on kind of, was something I gave up. But with time, it was more about how my body feels more than just giving it up. It was more of a thing where it's like, okay, like I know this is going to cause me pain tomorrow. So yeah, those are two things I could think of off the top of my head.
Do you ever feel guilt for taking time for yourself?
I think we all do, right? Like when we're doing something for ourselves, like there's that sense of being selfish. But as I said earlier, like I think if it's something that you're passionate about, I think it's important to have like that support from others around you that, they know why you're doing it. Cause like if I didn't have the support, I probably wouldn't be doing as much of this as I want to, right? So I think like feeling selfish is totally normal in some of these things. um I think you have to keep in mind that like you're doing like going back to your why. Like I'm being selfish right now so I could do all of these things, like a domino effect, right? Like I'm going to be better and more patient later with my wife and my kids. I'll be more focused at work. Like I think it's okay. But this is talking fitness and health, right? But I think like we all feel selfish about certain things, but I think it's important to know like why are you being selfish in that moment? If it's for good reasoning and you have that support, I think that helps you kind of get over that, and you're doing it for good reasoning, right?
Did you run up against resistance in the beginning with around people that you cared about? Not because they obviously wanted your best interest, but maybe they just didn't understand it or just weren't used to it. And how did you overcome that?
Yes, like having supportive people in your life, like that has always helped. I also want to be clear, like I don't want to sound like I'm obsessed with it either. Like I made sure to always have that. There's a fine line with like being obsessed with something and then also being, just making it part of your lifestyle. I call it more of a lifestyle than an obsession, because when it becomes an obsession, that's not good. And people will feel it, right? Like my wife will feel it. My friends will feel it. Like this guy is always in the gym and it's just a gym bro. And that's all he does. Like that's not the image I go for. And I don't think anybody's really ever felt that from me. I think I've always done a good job at that. At least I think so. You can ask my wife and see what she says. But, but she, I make sure that it's more of a lifestyle for me where I carve it into my days or my weeks. Like I don't make it take over. And it's okay. Sometimes we all screw up and like we just can't keep it up. And sometimes life just falls apart and it's okay. And I think you can't let that beat you up. Like, cause if you do, then it's crossing that line of obsession, right? And it's like it's no longer just a kind of a lifestyle for you. It's more of an obsession, and then it takes over. And I think I've been there at some point. I think when I first started, like it was more of an obsession. I was going like 7 days a week to the gym, healthy eating to the point where, like I said, I had an eating disorder. So I think like just keeping that fine line of like obsession versus just making it part of your lifestyle and making better choices related to health, fitness. I think like that has helped me like overcome that, like, obstacle where people think, or people start to judge on based on like, how you react. Like you're always in the gym or you're always eating healthy, like.
Well, it's good that you were able to course correct that early on. This memory comes to mind as you say that of this. I remember going to this party when I was in high school, and the next morning we had all crashed at, it was a campground, and we had all crashed there. And the next morning, I remember this one friend of mine who was very fitness obsessed. I wake up and he's in the tent and he's doing push-ups and eating a cucumber, like just a bare cucumber. And he's like mad at himself that he ate too many Doritos the night before because he,
Wow,
he
my
had had too many beers. So that sort of thing. There's
yeah.
definitely people who make it an obsession and an unhealthy one. And course correcting it, it sounds like for you, you're able to do it. It's not always obvious or easy for people. And sometimes people need help.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess there are worse things to be addicted to, though. That's true too, than fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with everything, there's limitations too. Like anything that sounds healthy can become unhealthy, right? Like that guy eating, doing push-ups and eating cucumbers. Like if it gets to that point, like it for your own self, like it becomes almost like an unhealthy obsession and others around you, right? So yeah, that's I think like with maturity, you start to realize like you start to see that fine line and you start to understand like, okay, with anything in life, like I think you start to understand it more and you find that control and that balance where it doesn't take over your life.
You talk about you're a better father and husband, your stress, your anxiety, your focus, your presence. Like these are the types of benefits you get from this life that you've created. Did I got that right? And are there any that I've missed?
No, I think you're spot on with that. It's overall like just enhances the way I am in my daily routine in my life. Like it's what anchors me, right? And I think, it just helps me be a better person. And for me, that's important. Like that's why I do this. It goes back to my why. So
How did you develop the why? How did you make space for that? Like when you, because you've brought up this why a lot. How do you know your why?
well, you don't at first, I'll tell you that much. As you start to get into on this fitness journey or anything that you're trying to do, right? You have to stop at some point and tell yourself, why am I doing this? Like, what's the whole purpose of this? Like, am I doing it for myself? Am I doing it for others? When we're talking fitness, like, am I doing it to look good? Am I trying to make a career out of this? Like, what am I doing here? So going back like to my earlier days, I started doing this because I just wanted to be physically stronger and pass an exam. Like that was the foundation of where this all started. But with time, I realized like, hey, this has like an impact on my mental health, my physical health, how I treat other people. So you start to realize like this is my why. Like I I'm doing this because it overall benefits my life and how I treat other people and how I treat my job. So I think that why just kind of comes naturally, but you have to be able to identify it and pause and say, take a step back and look at what the overall impact is on what you're trying to achieve.
Is there anything else that you feel like we didn't get a chance to discuss that you'd like to add?
One of the questions that you kind of sent my way earlier on as I was preparing, that stood out to me was, is there a promise you make to yourself every day that fuels your discipline? I thought that was a really good one. And really like at the end of the day, I do it for my family and my kids. I know it's for my physical well-being and my health and all that, but like they also see the hard work that I put in, the commitments, the showing up each day and day in and day out. And I feel like my kids see that. I feel like they see like, okay, like my dad works hard, he does these things, whether it's fitness. I think it's also true in life. Like they see me showing up to work each day. I show up to being a good father, a good husband. Like I think my promise at the end of the day is just to show up, whether it's for my fitness, the gym, or whether it's showing up for my family. I think it's all interconnected, like being consistent with fitness, family time, work. Like I feel like all those things kind of connect together, and it anchors me to be a better person at the end of the day, ready to tackle the day, and just be emotionally connected with them and be present. So I think that question really like sparked something in me when I saw it, because again, I know we've been talking about the why, the why, and it was like spot on with like that's my why. So yeah.
Well said. I'm glad you added that, and I could totally relate to that. I feel like having living for other people other than just myself has given me strength that I didn't have on my own to want to be better, to aim up, to be the best version of myself, to live by example. And family is a great way to do that. Certainly it could be, you could be a great member of your community, you could be a great member of your church, you could be a great member of lots of things, but if you know, having being married and having a family is certainly one that I feel like for me, I can really relate to what you said, so thank you for adding that.
Absolutely.
And now that you have me looking at the my questions, but in case you have something to add here, how would you sum up your philosophy, like on health, family, and consistency? And if you were to sum it up in a sentence or two, like what would you say?
That's a good one too. I kind of mentioned it or hinted to in the last question, which is like I believe all three things are connected and kind of feed off of each other. So I think like true health fuels the body and mind, right? And then I think like having a strong family bond nurtures love and purpose. And then having like that steady consistency creates the discipline and stability that all together form like a foundation of a meaningful life. So I
Wow,
would say, yeah, if I would sum it up in just one or two sentences, that would be it, you know?
well said. Everyone has their growing up story. We've talked a little bit about yours. Growing up means something different to everyone. What does growing up mean to you, Pascal?
Yeah, I love this one. I think growing up for me is like just continuously evolving. Like in everything that you do, I think if it challenges you, that's growth. Like I think it's true in the gym, it's true in your relationships with your kids, your wife, your job. Like challenge in general just creates growth. So continuously learning how to get better each day, right? With anything that you're doing, it just molds you into the next best version of yourself. So for me, like that's what growing up is, just evolving, you know, looking at like what's next for me. Like, and if it's not challenging you, find a challenge. Like what's going to challenge me to get to the next step? Like this podcast is a challenge for me. It's something that, you know, I've never done before and it's a challenge and it helps me grow. So I thank you for that. It was fun.
I'm glad to hear that. You've been doing this for 15 years. How do you stay challenged? Like, what does challenge look like in your fitness, in your wellness for someone who's been at it 15 years, who's an expert by all measures, who knows it in and out? Like, so how do you keep yourself challenged?
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge for me right now is like realizing how your body changes as you get older and like trying to maintain the shape that I'm in. You know, I just turned 35 last month and I think like between the ages of 35 and 45, that's like prime time for anybody to really like, I'd say like if you haven't started by that time, it's a good time to start because your body starts to kind of like take its, you know, its form into your later years. And I think like being healthy at that point, you know, carries on into your later life. So, you know, doing it for so long, I'm realizing like, okay, my body's feeling different. You know, my knees are sore in the morning sometimes. Like these things are all normal things that come with your body aging. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me is like, how do I continue to do this whilst, you know, being mindful of my body changes, also my family, like things are changing, right? Like my family's growing, my career's changing. Like I think like time management and overall like just adapting to like life's changes as you get older. I feel like those are things where naturally challenge me in this fitness game, and I think it will always continue to challenge me. I My goal at the end of the day is like when I'm, you know, my 50s 60s, like I'd love to still be in very good shape. Like I want to be that dad that's playing sports with their kids, hitting the gym with my son. Like I want to be that dad. So I feel like that's where I want to head, and I feel like my challenge for myself is like how do I continue to do that, like being healthy while also, you know, still being very present and listening to my body. So those are like my top challenges.
Well said. What about career? Like, if you continue to progress in your career becomes more demanding. Maybe that means you're taking 6 a.m. meetings, or you're putting on longer days. Would you be willing to make that trade off? Like, do you feel like your fitness and wellness brushes up against career progression, career aspirations, career potential?
I don't think so. I think I have a good balance of that. I think like whatever comes my way career wise, I could just adapt. It might mean less time, might mean more flexing in a sense where I got to find other times to get staying active or keeping staying active like part of my lifestyle. Right now, I'm blessed in a sense where I could work from home 100% of the time. So that definitely helps. But I think like I didn't always have this luxury of working from home. Like I was on the road a lot, but I'd still find time like in hotels. I find gyms nearby. Like I think making the time also helps. Like if you're really passionate about it, you'll find the time, you'll find a way. Even if that means doing push-ups in your hotel room. Like I think there's ways to do it if you're really passionate about it. But career-wise, I don't think it's ever brushed up against it. Just kind of adapt. And I think that's important for anybody. If you wanna live that fitness, healthy lifestyle, like you just gotta find ways to build it into your life routines and lifestyle.
Awesome. Well, Pascal, thank you so much for the conversation. I've certainly taken a lot away from it. So thank you very much for sharing.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of After Peter Pan. If it resonated with you, I'd love if you could leave us a like, drop us a rating. It really helps to drive new audiences to the show. Thanks again, and until next time.